Are you gonna give me orders?
Terran patch. Do we want to talk about the Terran patch?
I'd rather talk about maybe the meme on Reddit, but also maybe the Terran here, uThermal versus Trap. Let's talk about uThermal. Is he going to benefit from the Terran patch, Drogo?
Easy a Terran patch. I don't know. I think I will have to wait for the games to see, because I really believe that there's some way to play it where you really abuse it, on some other which, all right, I will gift you, you won with skills. The highest honor in StarCraft 2. Not winning because of your race. Oof. Only a few people ever manage.
That's difficult to do, man. Maybe we should make an award for that. We are heading into game on Simulacrum. Just a reminder, guys, that later on today, after Innovation versus Raynor, we're also going to be having a 2v2 Archon mode, actually, show match with some of the pros who have played in this tournament and some who haven't, actually. So it should be a very fun time, but that's going to be happening later. For now, let's head right into the first game of this best of 5 TVP in the top left as we spawn here on Simulacrum. It is the Red Terran, TeamLiquid's uThermal.
Yay!
Only the bottom right. He has the biggest fanboy in the entire scene of StarCraft 2. It's Trap. But he deserves it. He's really good at the game.
Trap is he's good at the video games. That is very true. And he's opening up with they're both opening up with something interesting. uThermal hiding that barracks out on the map, whereas Trap is going with that forward wall off.
That is very interesting from both players. I'm really curious about what Trap is doing. I have never seen this before. Surely he's gonna go core before gate, right? Just you have the gateway closer to your opponents. You get the adept there faster. I would like to think. Yeah, on it. He must have watched some VOD, because uThermal is a really big fan of proxy barracks. But here, like, uThermal is getting the last laugh unless this gets scouted.
Is that actually gonna happen? I mean, Trap looking for a proxy is certainly. That's not weird. That's not weird at all. But finding the proxy on this side of the map where it is, that would have been amazing. uThermal, he's willing to mix up where he puts it offensively, defensively. And this is less a proxy and more just like a hidden barracks. But it is definitely going to be aggression, as we see 2 gases. So does Trap. So I mean, he knows this was something.
And that's Trap right now. This is a terrible feeling, right? You've scouted an entire half of the map, and right now in his mind is like, oh my god, the factory is proxied. Maybe he proxied his entire all of his buildings at the other side of the map. So right now, Trap is completely in the dark, and this is very uncomfortable for him.
Yeah, that is so uncomfortable. I mean, funnily enough, if I saw this, I'd be checking that top right, Trap's third base, but he's actually not trying to find the proxy anymore. He tried with that first probe, and he's in here looking to see anything. A factory, a starport. He knows, of course, the factory's proxy. He won't be able to see if the starport isn't, but if you're going to proxy everything, you're going to proxy everything, right?
Yeah.
Like even the starport. I would expect
probably.
So.
But this is actually... do you want a little bit
of
of
a command
spoiler?
center.
Because
Go ahead.
I've seen uThermal do something similar like this before, where he proxies all of his buildings, but pretty close to his base, right? So then the Protoss players really panics, plays very defensive, but then just uThermal takes an expansion, and with the factory here, it's gonna be here all game, it's gonna make some tanks, and then do a really strong push with Marines and tanks. And right now Trap, is not probing all that much, right? He made a really quick second gate, he's making a robo, the chrono boosts are not on the probes. I'm really digging this opening for uThermal. I think his man game works as he wanted.
This is kind of, it's weird, but it's going to work out pretty well. And there is the tank production that you're talking about. The command center is on that high ground, so no worry about any, SCV delay on that, and a lot more barracks coming down. So as you were saying, bringing that nice amount of Marines with the tank push. So no starport really necessary. Trap is trying to find anything, and this would be a common location for a starport, for instance, for a medevac or a liberator, but there's nothing there. I mean, he's not going to find the factory. I heavily doubt that. And then it doesn't really seem like he quite knows what to expect. So he's trying to cover his bases. Shield Batter coming down and a Robo coming down are his best bet. But, I mean, how likely is he going to be able to defend this if he doesn't know this build?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably still possible if he reads it perfectly, but I'm very curious myself. I have seen this build from uThermal, and I was like, man, this is very good. I'm not quite sure what you're supposed to do. Maybe if he drops a Robo Bear right now, for example, and get some quick Colossus, it could be something good, but just Stalkers and a Warp Prism with this team already started, and like the tank count is gonna be so high. I'm really curious to how Trap is gonna prepare for that. The Warp Prism, I like it though. I like the Warp Prism.
Yeah, I mean, providing some aggression, but also a little bit of that scouting, right? He's got to be careful. He saw that there was a Cyclone, so he knows how dangerous that lock-on can be, but it is going to be a robotics bit behind this. I mean, going to Colossus, the Marines, they will have combat shields, but if you can kind of jump on top of these types of pushes and start really taking out the Marine numbers, it does get a little bit easier. The Stalker attack is going to see 3 barracks and be like, oh, okay, and try and target down that Cyclone before it gets a lock-on. That's a decent number of units there.
It is a lot of... there's no starport, so it's not like Vikings who really deny this Warp Prism, so Trap can micro all days and just pick off Marines.
Yeah, theoretically, of course. Like, he's got to be careful not letting that Warp Prism get targeted by the Cyclone, as I'm sure uThermal is hoping to do that, because he also knows, he's not going to be able to get a Viking and push that back.
I wonder if Trap knows. This is like very quick double tech lab, right? If you're really on top of your game knowledge, you should know that this is a very, very aggressive push coming your way. And it seems like he's preparing for it. Yeah, Trap reading the situation perfectly. No Forge, no Twilight, double Chrono Boost on the Robotics Bay on just the Robo. He's gonna get a lot of units with some Colossus and really crush the push. That seems to be the plan, and I'm loving it.
I think this is very appropriate as well. This seems to be a good read. Of course, he saw the tanks. He knows the factory's out somewhere. No harassment otherwise from a starport. You just got to figure it's not around. And it's got to be that push off of this tech. It does still have stim. It does still have combat shields and 4 tanks that are going to try and be repaired by these SCVs. There's a lock on a Warp Prism, and that is really nice. That is going to go down here. The Stalkers may be able to escape, but the Warp Prism no longer able to try and juggle back at home.
Yeah, so very good move by Trap, standing on top of his ramp. He's gonna delay this push by quite a bit. So there's a scan, but you can't stay here forever. The tanks have a lot of range, and eventually you'll have to run away from this position.
Exactly. Just trying to buy some time. I mean, the Colossus ideally has gotten some shots off on the Marines because Medivacs, but that's not even happening. Loses the Sentry, loses Immortal health, already having its shield popped as well, and this is still a very dangerous push. You'd want that shield to be up. He's trying to get to the Extended Thermal Lance, and that will finish with the 3rd Colossus. That still has a way to go.
Yeah, I think Thermal Lance already, and so many Colossus. Oh, look at this Immortal on the left. I love this.
Is it going to be enough?
Buying so much time, Trap, right now.
Yeah, that is very important. A couple more warp-ins can really make or break the difference. All the tanks on siege. Unfortunately, Trap has no way of really knowing that. No observer, no time to really make an observer. So they're going to be able to fully reposition all on that high ground. The Immortal now going to have to go up through that back choke and maybe through some Marines as well, because the tanks are so far on that right side now.
This is so many tanks. So Trap is going for it.
Is he? Wow, he is going to go for it. 2 tanks were on siege. He grabs that first one very, very quickly, but still bunkers and 2 tanks sieged. The other 2 do siege quickly enough, and the Immortal, unfortunately, did not really get a whole lot done. Kind of got caught by Marines.
He killed that tank on the early points, but that's all he did pretty much.
Yeah.
And this is where Trap, see, he's starting a Twilight Council. He's realizing now, he's like, shit, if all of my Zealots are charged, I would be in a very nice position right now. But because they're all so slow, the tanks have all the freedom in the world to just fire from very, very far away without really ever getting touched.
Yeah, this is scary stuff. I absolutely agree. Like, if Charge could be fit in with this, then that would be much better. But already trying to get to those 3 Colossus, trying to build his Immortal count back up again. And one, oh my god, already getting its Immortal shields popped. Can't reach the tank. It can't. It kind of derps around. 4 tanks, 5 tanks? Actually, still free firing. 1 does go down, but bunkers are still up and ready. Every stim does hurt. We do have to keep that in mind a little bit. But as I say that, uThermal, he's advancing forward, man. He still has a decent economy back at home just by pulling those SCVs, and he's on his way to a starport for hopefully some medevacs for Charge, who Charge has only just started.
Yeah, it does seems like, though, that as soon as Trap will get charged, he should be able to crush this position. Like, it doesn't really feel like uThermal can go... Like, he can defend his position for sure, but can he really do any damage? Doesn't really feel like it. A new Warp Prism. This is true. If Trap had the Warp Prism alive all along, it could do some massive damage with counterattacks. This is going to be really scary for uThermal.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm also thinking about just ways to reposition these Immortals, and then actually get them out of harm's way once they pick off a tank. Because 2 Immortals will be picking off tanks pretty quickly. uThermal jumps on top of it, though, and he actually gets the Warp Prism.
Oh, no.
Oh, that was not supposed to happen at all. 2 Immortals so painstakingly chronoed out of that Robo. gone in an instant. And actually, Trap, I don't know, he's pulling the trigger before charge. This might be just like, okay, I'm dead anyways. And I think it was GG. uThermal, the contain into the win.
You know what? Even though Trap lost, I really liked his response. I thought his scouting was really good. And even though he wasn't in the best of the economical position because of the early game, and he got a bit tricked by uThermal, the idea was very nice. And I think Trap, you would go into this game, if you were to replay it again, you'd be like, okay, I'm going to produce a lot of units, but I'm going to squeeze a Twilight Council pretty early on. So I can get that charge and then just crush the push. And then I think Trap is in a good position. But he needed a really tight response to what was a really tight build from uThermal. And in general, the guy with the better builds wins in StarCraft. So very well played by uThermal.
I got to think back to like when Trap is still not quite sure what's happening, because as you're saying, you have to have a really tight build. You have to somehow fit in a Twilight Council along with every other unit, and it's the indecision, the uncertainty that can happen right when you're like, okay, what exactly is he doing? That maybe a couple probes are skipped that otherwise shouldn't have been. So you get to saturation, then you build the units, right? As opposed to kind of the halfsy half. I also really am stuck on that Warp Prism a little bit, just because I feel like that would have been, microed around against the tanks and maybe even the Cyclone with even just the one Immortal. Obviously, that's dangerous to do, and it would have been really nice for Trap to have picked off that Cyclone from the get-go and then not have to worry about his Warp Prism at all. But those two things indeed, charge and the Warp Prism actually doing its job and not just tying to the Marines.
If during the entire time Trap had a Prism on the side of the map of uThermal with like 4 Stalkers just harassing constantly, that would have been very, very nice actually. It's almost like Trap respected the push too much. Like it's an extremely scary push, but Trap made so many like early units with just Gates units and Colossus that he had actually like more than enough to not get rolled over. But it's very rad, right? You're playing against a build that I don't know if Trap ever played against this before. So you need to be really quick on your decisions, and you can't always be perfect. So I'm really excited to see like what's gonna happen, because Golden Wall, if I'm Trap and I just played against this with like the building where like the most random location, and this is Golden Wall, I'm like, okay, what is he gonna do now? Is he gonna mine the minerals, proxy a starport? Like, I have so many things I have to scout on this map. I really wonder how Trap is gonna like approach this map.
In general, kind of talking about the overall theme of this best of 5, uThermal has proven his prowess in PvT or TvP for him in multiple ways, and obviously he's always been a very tricky player. And Trap also doesn't have a lot of experience against him. He's not playing on the European server. So, do you think that Trap actually knows enough about uThermal to constantly be on guard, or was he only probably maybe watching the TSL VODs?
I'm not sure actually. I think uThermal is. When he prepares for series, he tends to be very meticulous about it. And in general, he won't do something that he did before in a casted series, Or if he does, it's going to be like with a variation that will give him an edge if you prepare for the whole variation. And already, what is this SCV doing? Oh, sorry, we should probably introduce the player.
So Observer reminds us on the bottom left is the blue Protoss. He is Trap going for a forward wall off on Golden Wall.
Again with the forward wall, and on the bottom right, sending some early SCVs on the map, probably going for the strategy that never ever loses. It's uThermal.
That should have been Tilo's prediction for this weekend instead of the no 3-0s. Ooh, that was not a great prediction. But yeah, the T-Rax here coming from uThermal. He has used this before, but as you were saying, like the amount of variations that uThermal can do on multiple builds that he has is always very, very scary. Trap will once again be able to scout that something is up, and he'll see the gas timings specifically to say what it's leaning more towards. You see this Trap will immediately notice that T-Rax. This cannot be anything else. And in general, I think a forward wall is a weakness against T-Rax. But I think Trap can defend usually. Like you just make a Cybercore immediately, you make a Zealot, maybe a shield battery, and then you should be good to go. So I'm a little bit scared for Mark right now. I feel like if he's scouted, it's really hard to do damage with this, but maybe he will prove me wrong. His micro is very good. Yeah, it's I mean, it's happened before where we're just like, yeah, well, it's not necessarily fully scouted, and the probe is actually going to pull back in time to see the units themselves, not the barracks themselves. But the miss micro usually happens for the Protoss side. We'll see if it happens here. It kind of locks out the probe rather with that bunker, but the Zealot is already out here, and it's going to need more than one Marine to handle that. The SCV needs to get on that right side of the bunker to have a chance here. He's going to chrono out that Stalker and build a shield battery, but good micro. Gosh, that's like through micro right there. And the bunker actually would have gotten up. The SCV is not dying, but the DPS is just too good for the probes. Didn't see that too often.
It was very interesting. Oh, he really wants to kill that SCV. What's going on the other side?
He's got it. SCV.
And the SCV is dead.
Oh, that's... So what do you do from here, though? I mean, uThermal does have an orbital, and he's building a tech lab on these barracks, but 2 Stalkers are about to be out before he has anything more than Marines.
Yeah, I'm not sure. This is looking pretty grim. He's gonna kill the Zealot almost for sure now. Oh, the Stalker is taking a lot of damage. But the SCV, he really wanted his SCV to be alive to build some bunkers. Do we have a transition behind this? We have a factory, and technically there's no Nexus, so it's not the end of the world, but this is... I'm not sure what you do right now as uThermal. Oh, maybe if you can catch these 2 Stalkers, you're fine. Nah, but Trap is way too good for that. It's just way too good.
Yeah. Of course, he wants to see what the barracks are doing, if they've lifted or if they're adding on tech labs, but he also knows he doesn't want to be trapped by those units. Unfortunately for uThermal, it's unlikely those units could really do the damage, but now with Marauder slow, maybe you can start taking trades and continue keeping Trap contained. A Trap is not going to try and play some Nexus game here. He does actually throw down a second gateway and a Robo. It's very safe against what he saw, which is, he saw the tech lab. He saw that it was researching.
Yeah, I feel like Trap could very easily drop a Nexus right now, but he has a probe in the main base. He sees no command center, and he's like, okay, I'll play. Oh, don't move out against Concussive Shell, though. Is that how you can lose the game? I think he saw it, yeah.
That would be a little bit foolish. At least have the room to pull back to the shield battery. That would save the Stalker's life for sure. Second gateway's about to finish up, so we'll have just a nice number of Stalkers that focus fired can take out Marauders even if they're slowed. But we also have a tank now on the way, which, as you were pointing out, Trap just knows everything. He knows he doesn't have to take a Nexus, but he actually chooses to take a Nexus.
Yeah, I think at some point you have to take a Nexus because you're extremely safe, and he's only going to be a danger maybe when this tank eventually gets on his side of the map. But it's going to be so much time before that happens. I think you should just make a Nexus.
I would say better safe than sorry, but in this case it's a little bit weirder than that. But
yeah, it's actually, it's funny how StarCraft works, right? Because if you don't take a Nexus early, then it gets dangerous.
Yeah. It's 2 sentries are going to help out as well, buying some time, maybe a Guardian Shield. 1 barracks lifted, I guess, just for that high ground vision, which is more important than the extra Marine it might produce.
And almost like a trick, like, I'm lifting my barracks, I'm totally moving out. And in fact, nope. Oh, this is dangerous.
Very dangerous. Immortal is here. Force fields are used. The Immortal can try and target fire down those Marauders, which is exactly what it does. Its shield's going to be popped, but after taking down 2 Marauders, only 2 though. Stalkers on the top side take down another Marauder, however. Here comes the tank. It's actually a very, very small amount of units here for uThermal, and his production just cannot really match Trap, right? Like, even if he loses the Stalkers here, he's got another Immortal about to pop. The tank is going to go down. Might lose a Stalker again, but he still has production. He has faster reinforcements.
Yeah, like 2-gauge Robo producing constantly is gonna beat 1 barracks, like, almost every time. GG.
Alright, well, the T-Rex not really working out so well. Actually looking, not really good at all. It was figured out very, very quickly. No hesitation on the probe scout. The low ground wall off, which might have been a weakness if you underestimated it.
Yeah,
maybe.
I like the idea though. I feel like uThermal almost knew that it was going to be a low ground wall, and the bunker like completing the wall. I feel like this is the kind of thing that won him a lot of games in practice. But Trap was playing very safe and really respected the threat. Pulled probes immediately, adjust, made the Zealots, and when I feel like in practice, the Protoss didn't pull enough probes to just out DPS the building bunker, That was the key moment, because I think if that bunker finishes, then it's a really, really annoying game for Trap. That may probably end with him losing the pylon, then losing his production, and then it's a win for uThermal, right? But just, proper reaction from Trap wins him the game. It's beautiful.
That's exactly what I was going to say. That's exactly how it probably goes down in a game where the probes don't out DPS the bunker. But it's still like, yeah, very cool idea. Usually the Protoss pull a couple or maybe two, and then they're like, oh, the Stalker's going to pop in time, right? And then it doesn't. And underreaction, kind of being the main concern. But if Trap's going to have, mostly perfect reactions, then uThermal might have to actually send out a bit of a macro build in one of these games, which I'm sure he's very capable of doing. In fact, most of his games versus Zest were around those 2 base pushes, not proxies or...
I do feel like on the next map, which is going to be Everdream, probably the shortest map in the pool, I feel like we're going to see something else aggressive. That's just...
I'm with you on the aggressive. It's just more like, I think, like maybe a 2 base type of aggression. Something early off of those 2 bases, but just not necessarily proxied. But uThermal, I mean, he's definitely one of those guys that can also just like 2 racks and then 2 racks and then 2 racks again, and you're just like, stop doing that. Everdream is definitely the shortest map, and well, Trap, if he wasn't really sure what he was coming into in this best of 5 in the beginning, he certainly knows it now in the game 3, having been proxied or hidden tech or whatever you want to call it twice now. I doubt he'll go for the low ground wall off again, though, right? Like those are the only 2 maps I've ever seen them on.
Yeah, on this map has a very easy, like, high ground wall that you can do. That's
exactly.
Just superior.
Right,
Well, in the top right, the man not going for the usual wall, this is Trap.
Yeah, I was like, okay, that's not where the wall was, but yeah, all right. In the bottom left, he is sending on an SCV. It is uThermal for TeamLiquid, and it looks to be just the hidden barracks once more.
That is interesting. The only reason I can think why you wouldn't want to build a wall is that I've heard legends. I haven't seen any games, but I've heard legends of a proxy to racks where the Terran then lifts a racks and then just kills your gateway and your survey core with a bunker on the low ground, on the racks for vision. I've heard, legends in the wind. But it's the only thing I can think of, because like that wall is very good, and because there's no wall, like that Reaper is going to be able to get inside no problem and scout everything.
That is very true, but I'm glad you brought that up because I kind of forgot for a second too. Like Everdream is the map where we saw Innovation do it in GSL and we saw TY do it in TSL. There is that push that can absolutely take advantage of what is a gateway and a cybernetic square. More forwardly placed, so with the lifted barracks you can actually kill it. Talking about that ledge over the left side. So Trap, I mean, he definitely, being in the Korean scene, seeing the Korean Terrans do their thing, he definitely would be scared of that push against a guy who's done nothing but these tricky little proxies. And Trap, now he knows, again, something's up. But this time, uThermal is going to hide the factory / more so proxy the factory this game. Compared to the first one where it was like more so on getting him to panic, but this one feels like it might actually be aggressive off the factory, right?
Yeah, this is going to be some aggression. Like, Trap barely missed the proxy racks, but you see the Reaper, like, killing your probes early. You know that the racks is pretty much on the side of the Terran. So you shouldn't be too worried. He's going to chrono a Stalker, but he's still going to chrono boost Warp Gates. So very confident in his answer. Like, right now, I would be like, okay, uThermal, you're not going to get me twice. I'm going to chrono boost some probes. I know there's not going to be crazy aggression. And you know what, Zombie Grub? I would be wrong. This is some crazy aggression.
Yeah, just something about the factory placement, it still has to kind of go around a bend, but it is definitely closer to the opponent, and he had to do something different as well. I don't think he does the same build from game number 1, but actually doing the full-on 1-1-1, adding on the barracks to that extra marine production, and then just pushing. We did see something like this from the other Terrans I was talking about. They were just in base when they did it. That
probe is moving out, but if the Reaper can kill it, this is a really, really big deal. Are they barely missed each other? Oh no! No, uThermal. He has the Reaper in position to kill that probe. Okay,
Marines?
Go kill that probe.
No, how are they doing this? How are they doing this?
No, don't know! Oh no! This is terrible.
Oh, he saw the starport, but he didn't see what was added onto it.
Like, he didn't see, but like the starport here is... Yeah, he's gonna move out immediately with the Stalkers, but he's not a good idea with a Cyclone here.
I don't know. I don't think he was maybe with some tricky footwork here. He's going to bring that Stalker to the high ground, barely save her from the Cyclone lock-on, but a Cyclone is still very scary until you have a few more Stalkers, and they are being warped in. Shield battery is prepared. The tank is on the way. The medevac is here, going to provide the high ground vision as well. Not that there's a lot of structures to kill him at high ground. and the Liberator. This is really what ties it all together. You get that Liberator in position. It's so difficult when you're also getting blasted by a tank on top of those Stalkers that are vulnerable to that. Real trifecta of units for this push.
Yeah, like Trap answers now. We criticize him for being too safe in the first game, but here, this is perfect. He has so many units.
The tank still is very scary. That's Sentry's going to go down. Stalkers take quite a beating from the first tank shot, and the Cyclone is still pretty darn healthy, but he is picking away the Marine count despite the medevac being present. But this is going to continue, man. And that Liberator, it's a common, it's proxied as well. The Immortal on the high ground, actually the scan reveals it. He's going to try and protect the tank from it. Looks like it couldn't quite reach it anyways.
Yeah, really perfectly placed. Like any closer on that Immortal would have killed that tank really quickly. Mm-hmm. So now uThermal is going to try to set up, but surely Trap won't let him. Surely.
Yeah, I mean, for people cheering for Trap, that's their hope there. He tries to grab the Cyclone, but gets hit by the tank instead, and the SCV's got to get back on repairing that one. This still seems like a very good concave. I mean, you're no longer stuck just taking all the shots from the Liberator. You actually have another angle to get through here. And that could be very important. It's going to kind of move forward. A bunker is going to finish as well, and that's always a little bit scary. But Trap is going to pull the trigger on this. Guardian Shield is activated. Goes for the bunker with one Immortal. No, he's going to go for the tanks with both Immortals, and that probably is the better call. He's going to grab both of them. Not quite. One Immortal was not enough on that right side. Ooh, this is still very close.
This was one of the best fights uThermal could have ever taken, I think. I feel like Trap waited way too long before going in, and he lets uThermal get into a good position with the bunker on the Liberator, but there's another Immortal, and it's going in again.
Another tank pops out, but he's going to have to back up, and that's what Trap wants. He wants him to go backwards. He has more time to work with this. The Immortal does go down. The tank left to be focus fired by the Stalkers, but the Marines are getting a lot of damage on top of them. Will the reinforcements be enough for Trap? He still has a shield battery he can go back to as well, and the Zealot even getting some chops in there. Looks like it's going to be enough. This went down to the wire, but again, Trap still has those faster reinforcements. Another Immortal on the way should be able to cut it.
Yeah, another Immortal is here. Like, Trap right now has too much economy, too much production. He's gonna lose a couple of units here because they can't run away. But I just don't see how uThermal can ever break through, like, 3 gates on constantly Immortal pumpings. But, you know, he has a medevac on a Dream.
That's kind of the only thing he has. I mean, if there's also a Liberator coming up here, I mean, suddenly we are talking about a very few Stalkers that can't tear down that Liberator that quickly. But simply put, like, he doesn't have enough minerals and gas to get all the things anymore. He could barely afford what he did here. The Liberator was started, and then yeah, he's going to continue. But the tank, it might just die here. The Warp Prism,
uThermal can't afford to lose a tank for free.
Expecting the Warp Prism to come out. I thought that was going to be uThermal's GG, but it's trapped with some lag. All right. That's nope. We're still good to go. Trap just maybe a momentary spike there. I want to make sure that he had the best micro possible. Both of them want to make sure they have the best micro possible. Because speaking of, we're back in a game, and a Stalker and a Zealot do go down. Trap a little too far forward. Does lose a couple of units. Shield battery's quite low, but a second Immortal joins in, and this has got to be it.
The medevac almost went down, but even if he runs away, it's just too little, too late.
Mm-hmm. Like, and medevac is going to die eventually.
Yeah, the Prism is coming for you. Oh no!
Boost
away.
But the farther back uThermal goes, the more time Trap has to, not just make Immortals and Stalkers, but even produce a couple more probes. He is feeling very confident here as well. He should. He has enough units. He catches the tanks unsieged. No clever positioning here. And once again with the focus fire on the medevac, on the tanks. There's no way that uThermal wins with 4 Marines and a tank.
Yeah,
no way.
He's right on top of the production. That Liberator is being annoying, but yeah, that's gonna be really hard.
I guess uThermal, the thing is, if his production wasn't camped, I would say he's going to try and do one of those follow-up all-ins, just hope that there's a little bit too much complacency and suddenly, 3 or 4 Liberators show up in your choke. But he's going to be down to, that was close, to 1 Liberator and no more production, just simply holding up in his main base. It's actually very surprising that uThermal's trying to play out this game, to be honest. It feels very much so like Trap does not have a worry anymore.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you have people, Prism. Yeah, after this moral victory, I can understand why you would stay in the game. But,
I guess.
Trap is done with this game, I think. Yeah, but
hey, right? No War Prism. The Immortal goes down. Chokes are still hard to break, and the Liberator did just grab a few Stalkers more than it really ever should have.
4 Marines run by also.
Okay, well now he's made it so he's only 20 workers down instead of like 22. Factory will safely make it home, and Trap does not know about the barracks to the left, which is so funny. That should be production. That's just not happening. How did that happen? How is that going down? uThermal, he's going to do the follow-up all in, but he really, I think the hope was that, the best chance for him was that Trap was going to just be like, I'm going to win. Let's just derp up the ramp.
I feel like because of the pause of Trap, uThermal is like, oh, maybe he's going to lag out. So he's just trying to hang on as long as possible, which is a valid strategy. But yeah, like uThermal is super dead. Don't get tricked. Like this is never, ever going to work. But, you know, I'm never going to fault a man for trying. Never, never. And with teams and tanks, there's always a way. But I feel like Trap doesn't really want to wait for that to happen. He just wants to win the game right now. It's gonna maybe elevator everything.
Not much that uThermal can do about that. There's not enough Marines to really hit the War Prism this time, or it can dodge out of the way, and he's gonna lose production. The tank properly, defended is gonna help here, but there's just so many units, and he can just warp in more, which is exactly what he's going to do. Following us up is Blink and a Dark Shrine. So if this doesn't work, then the next phase will. The War Prism is stimmed on, goes down. The Immortal goes down as well. The tank actually still alive, and no, Drogo, no. This can't actually be happening, right? He's losing every last unit without killing that tank. He did kill 16 SCVs, though.
Yeah, I guess uThermal was waiting for it. Now it's gonna be like, choo choo, one last hooray across the map. We're going, boys. Let's go.
Yeah, the last two boys. The 2 workers that he has to repair that tank with the 8 minerals he has left over. It's all in territory now for sure, but by the time he makes it across the map, Trap will have DTs and Blink. Choose either one to produce here. He goes for the 3 DTs, and there's just nothing that uThermal can do about that.
Soon he's gonna have the 1 scan, but not yet. Oh, no.
I mean, one for 1 DT is not going to work out well for him.
No, the tank.
uThermal's still going to go with it, man. He's about to be up against 2 Immortals as well, and those units are pretty injured. And there, finally, is the GG. Trap holds against the tricky 1-1-1 on Everdream. uThermal, though, he was stubborn about that. He was like, no, this usually works. No, not that time.
Yeah, not that time. I like the preparation, to be honest, because I like the idea, He shows the same thing as in game 1, but instead of going for something that's really passive, he goes for something more aggressive, hoping that Trap will adapt. But Trap was really believed in his response, it seems, and went for the exact same answer as game 1, and this time it was just ideal. Like, even though it was back and forth, and a lot of stuff happened, and sometimes it felt like uThermal could do it, just Trap gave himself the tools to just hold this extremely convincingly, just by a really good response. So that's 2 games in a row now where I'm really like, yeah, Trap just knows what to do against this. So really good StarCraft, and I'm glad to see this from him.
You learning something about dealing with uThermal's tricks?
Well, actually, yes. I feel like these answers with the really quick second gate, it feels like it can hold everything aggressive. So then once you have that, you just have to scout for maybe if he's greedy, and then there you go. You have a solid response to like 1 base Terran. I love it.
Yeah, it's working out well for him. We're going on to Nightshade for game number 4, potentially the last game too. So the question is, does uThermal continue with his 1 base builds? I mean, your point about him kind of like showing the same thing and hoping for the same response, but then kind of mixing it up. Like that's always good, best of practice to do that, but is there really anything more you can do? Any more tricks he's really going to get from that 1 base build?
Yeah, I feel like you have to try something else, surely, right now. Like, I don't really see... If he does anything else that's really aggressive like that, I would be very surprised.
Yeah, that's where I am. Everdream, yeah, okay, that map was just... Yeah, okay, the map is good for it, but we're on Nightshade now. It's your last game. And I know uThermal has a lot of other things to show. I absolutely do think setting Trap off his game is a bit of a requirement here, because Trap's macro PvT is just totally beast mode. But I think there's still other ways to do that, to trick him up. So
yeah, but Nightshade, that's interesting. I really wonder what's gonna happen on Nightshade.
For uThermal's sake or Trap's sake?
because it's the one map where the parting build that he used in GSL, the Blinkstalker, 4-gate Blinkstalkers, it's extremely good. And it kind of, right now, the metagame in TVP, that's what dictates the map. So I wonder how he's going to address that. So in the bottom right, for example, this bad boy in the bottom right, this god of StarCraft, is he going to do the normal wall as usual? Yes. Thank you, Trap.
It's Trap. In the top left, as the red Terran, we do have uThermal. Yay! And there's that normal wall off, the anti-Reaper wall off. You get some nice tech unscouted. Well, you would hope so anyways. uThermal's going to go for gas first.
Gas first, ooh. The classic gas first, maybe with Marine first and a really strong push really early on. That could be something. But just to talk a little bit about that, because I studied a lot and it's actually really impressive. This map is extremely good for Blink Stalkers, because if you look at like the setup of the main base and natural, not only can you blink up super easily, like it's incredibly easy to blink up, maybe like the easiest map in a while we've seen. Even if the guy has like a lot of units in the main base, you can jump on the bottom of the natural, you know? And even if he has a tank near the ramp, he can't protect his SCVs if all of your Stalkers are at the bottom. So there's like a lot of vulnerable location that Terran has to defend, and it's extremely difficult. And you always need to keep that in mind when you do a build order on this map as a Terran. It's like, okay, how do I defend a really aggressive Blinkstalker opening? And it turns out it's really hard.
Yes, yeah, and that is something that we like just in general, have to be worried about for the Terrans, is that the 4-gate really has come into its own, right? It was kind of like, yeah, okay, like we saw it on ladder, we saw it in tournaments, but then Parting did it, and now everyone on ladder does it. But it is so powerful, and in the right hands, it also can go into a macro game, which makes it really scary. And Trap certainly would be the right hands. On the other perspective, I don't want to say hands anymore. Another perspective, I mean, uThermal, so mindful of this, might actually be okay against it, and Trap, I mean, he's having maybe some like ping issues a little bit here, but he would be the one to feel very confident in a normal game, right? So does he, quote unquote, risk the 4-gate, the really aggressive Blink Stalker usage, or do we just see him go for 2 gateways and a Forge and what we've seen him do in past?
Yeah, we okay, this is double adept Twilight. I've seen him do this before. It's pretty simple. You just make 2 adepts. The guy is like, I always think that it could be Stargate, even though it's really unusual to go Stargate after core first. Didn't even pay attention if it was core first. I'm assuming it is.
Yeah, it was.
But yeah, like uThermal right now is gonna maybe struggle if he thinks it's Stargate, because after oh no, don't tell me. Oh no.
Oh, that commencer! I think
finish.
it's right just for the finish.
That's very good for uThermal.
Yeah, good old adept wind-up times, man. Sometimes they really suck. Yeah, Hellion's going to help against 1 adept, but 2 is still a little bit scary. Going to have to wait for the next set of production units. This all is keeping the Reaper off of scouting as well, so keep that in mind. uThermal has not done any scouting yet, so that Stargate, is still kind of like, maybe. We know it's not. Right in a blink, right in a robo. Only 1 extra gateway so far, and now he's going to be able to push this back. Hopefully without losing the Reaper. There we go.
That was very spooky, the way that Reaper just went in. But nothing's gonna really... Oh, wow. I like this build. This is a cool one. Just, some Marines, some Hellions, a Medivac, and here you go. You kill a lot of probes with this. It's usually pretty good against what Trap is doing, but he seems to know it's happening. He's getting the shield battery. He's getting a lot of gates unit really early on. Mm-hmm. Even if when you know it's coming, you can very easily lose a lot of workers, like 3 Hellions in a Medivac.
Absolutely.
It seems gonna be Marines in the Medivac and then Hellions running in.
It's what's tricky about it, right? Because it can be both. So, and it's also like, where does each one go? And that can be, I mean, if they all attack together, that also can still be kind of scary, especially with the Reaper bopping a unit out of place on that wall or catching an adept like this.
Yes, losing an adept for free like this is not what you want to do, but Trap seems to be ready, right? This is coming a little bit late from uThermal. He's denying the wall, but I mean, sure, you deny the gate wall, but running into the main base with the Hellion, this could do a lot.
And Stalker's not going to one-shot these Hellions, and you do still only need 3 Hellions after all. 4 probes go down. These are very lined up, but we're down to 2 Hellions on that right side. The probes even going for this round, and there's the blink forward to take out the Medivac too, and these units in the natural are going to grab maybe a couple more probes. but not much more than that. 8 probes go down, and a stalker. 9, maybe the 10, maybe the 10. Okay. Was that enough?
Was that enough? The Hellions in the natural for quite some times were fighting stalkers or not probes. And I think he could have killed more. And this is where it's tricky, right? Because if you look at the walker counts, you're like, okay, Terran is in a good spot. Terran is getting a lot of infrastructure. And is in a good spot, right? But this is Nightshade. These stalkers are gonna do so much if Terran is spread thin. I really feel like a top current like Trap is gonna do wonders right now with the Blink stalkers that he has.
It certainly is scary. I thought he was going to go for a War Prism. I thought I saw him, but it's not available. So that's the good news. It's only 5 stalkers blinking up. There is an observer, so they will try to blink up, given the chance. But they're not really going to get very much. If this was 2 more and then 2 more stalkers, and then that maybe is a little bit scary. But uThermal is going to hold, and Trap is going to be at a very uncomfortable probe count, as that did enough damage to make them equal. We all know with mules. Not really equal.
The nice thing for uThermal is that he got a very quick stim, so Trap can't really aggressively blink in to kill ACV because it's outside of tank range, because there's Team Marines that can just like really punish that kind of move. So you know what? I was selling some dreams with like, yeah, Trap is gonna do so much damage, but not really. They didn't really do anything. I feel like someone like Parting maybe would have really tried, blinking in the main base and blinking away. But Trap is fine with just like chilling a little bit here, making sure he's getting his +1 on his Colossus, and playing a macro game from this, which I can respect quite a bit.
Mm-hmm. That's what I was going to say. Like, yeah, Stim also being as fast as it was really, really nice for uThermal. A Trap is not going to be able to see these medevacs fly off. No, I was like, where'd the observer go?
Yeah, it was right in the middle. But I feel like uThermal almost knew and expected. Like yeah, this is very nice. On this way, the stalkers are not. Oh, this is such a cool move. Usually, when you move out as a Terran, like the stalkers are always picking off Marines, but because of his fake, the stalkers are looking for the medivacs that do not exist, and uThermal is going to be able to move out completely for free. This is a very cool move. He's pulling all of the ACVs and it's not seen. I love this. Now, unlucky for him, Trap went 2 base Colossus. That's pretty good stats.
Yeah.
Pretty unlucky, but this was a very cool move. But then 2 Colossus, so many sentries. How is he going to break that?
Yeah, that's the bad news. Not third Nexus into a lot of gateway units, but rather into Colossus. No force fields are slapped down to buy any more time because the tanks are already in place, and +1 extended thermal lens are not quite done. But uThermal does have all of his upgrades, and he is moving forward. He wants to be on top of that production, which he is doing so. The Zealots have to be very careful, already using their charge there. It's going to be a nice concave for Trap as he's up the right side, bottom side, and he was trying to set up the left side too. Maybe just deny reinforcements.
The +1 for is almost done. I think he's waiting for that before engaging, but... Yeah. Oh, he's gonna engage from behind?
Well, the right side units have already died here, so it's not really a big old concave, honestly. Like, those Zealots, I think, were supposed to try and draw some fire away. They certainly have drawn the bio away. The tanks are still holding their own, even pulling back as reinforcements before they get sniped. 13 SCVs have gone down, obviously, with the SCV pool, but I think they might have done it. The Robo goes down. No third Colossus, no more gateway production on the natural either, and Trap taps out. GG, indeed.
Oh, I really think Trap messed up, no? It really felt like he had all the tools to hold this, but then he tried some tricks, and then uThermal was just like, I don't know what you're doing, mate, but it's not gonna work. I'm just gonna kill you.
Well, I do think a lot of it had to do with him not being in place to even try and halt that push, right? Like the Colossus can kind of like, we see a lot in that map actually. If you see a tank push, the Colossus go out a little, it's scary, but they kind of go out, they take a couple of shots, maybe force up a siege, and then they retreat. And just an extra 6 Zealots on the right side can be so important. And then the ones that he did manage to fit in died before really helping with the idea of the surround. So
yeah, that's very true. Like the entire thing where you just delay the Terran push in the middle of the map, none of that happened because of the very cool move with uThermal with the drop. So yeah, at the end of the day, I think that won him the game. So that was pretty cool. I'm still not over it.
It is. I mean, he would have seen the observer float in. That's why I thought he scanned and killed it. But no, he let it float in. He maybe saw it and was like, well, either I don't have a scan or let me do this. If it was pre-planned from that far ahead, that's really awesome. And he saw it surveillance mode off the left side. That's really cool because obviously if they the observer gets sniped. They're gonna have a couple of units still probably just waiting for the push to reveal itself. Where in this case, he pulled him to the left. And it was just that extra couple of seconds where he had to be in the dark.
Yeah.
So, really.
It must feel very bad for Trap though, right? Because when you got 2 base Colossus with +1 and charge immediately, you're like, okay, I can't really die to a 2 base Terran, right? Like, what more can I do? And when you still die, doing that as Trap, that must hurt. Like, I know it would be a little bit sad about that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think Trap is a really good player, so he's not gonna have his confidence shaken for something so minor. But it always feels bad when you feel like you're doing the thing that you're supposed to do, and it still doesn't work out for you. Because of like one detail.
Well, that shows the importance. It's not all about build orders, it's also about that positioning, right?
Yes.
Pretty good.
StarCraft is not only a game about build orders, a fact that makes me very sad every day. I wish I could pick Caesar and always beat Rock. Wait, no, beat Paper. This is why I'm terrible. This is why I'm terrible at StarCraft. I always mess it up. Can't even win Rock, Paper, Scissors. Oh my god, typical Protoss brain.
Of course. I also feel like he was in a really good position, and it's just some of his units were also in different places, because I also can't really get over those zealots dying like they did to the right side. I mean, they're being funneled through a wall anyway, so it was always going to be like, can they do anything? But maybe if they were warped in the third base instead of the natural type thing, because those are the units you want. Charges against those tanks, they jump on top of them, reduce their damage, and then Colossus beaming down in the bio. But not working that time, and uThermal takes us to the final game here, and we're going into Zen for game 5, which is all types of fun.
Zen.
But we're actually still loading in, so we're gonna hold off on the intros. It's always a gamble, sometimes it's really fast, sometimes it's not. But here we are, and in game I already see the SCV leaving. That's what I was wondering. In the bottom left, as the Red Terran bringing us to game number 5, he is uThermal.
Only the top right. The man that's gonna build his pylon in not the usual position, but that's why I love him. It's Trap. Oh, wow. Are you seeing what I'm seeing? This is a pylon scout. Holy hell.
Yeah.
He's pylon scouting. Dude, this is almost disrespectful, honestly. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you. There is no way. I'm sorry, I'm gonna sound so pessimistic, but there's no way uThermal can win this. He's gonna see this so early. The pylon is not usually on this map. The pylon is almost always in the natural, because it's just like the gateway of Undead that gets so fast to the other base. But yeah, like this is a 3 racks marine. This is so committed. Like Mark was really hoping for something else. He was hoping for maybe a core first with like no scout, and then the adept scouts, and then you see the racks very late. But this is not the case. I feel like this gas is almost a fake. Like, hey, I'm totally not going 3 racks marine, but no, like this is the location where your proxy racks are not Trap nodes, and someone with the level of Trap will almost never lose this position. I see. The gas gets cancelled because you need minerals to make marines. That's kind of the name of the game.
Yeah.
It's just so committed. He's not even getting an orbital command. How often do you see that?
Not too often in this matchup, especially. This is very, very aggressive. The overwhelming amount of units is still kind of what uThermal has to hope for here. I don't see him getting down a bunker. One SCV is already injured. They already have that zealot out as well. So the bunker's gonna try, because you have to try the bunker. Like, without a bunker, you're not really gonna make this work. But I don't see it actually getting up.
Yeah, I do feel like this Cyber Core was a little bit late compared to what it should usually be. This feels kind of spooky right now, but what you Trap at some point is gonna have to pull a lot of probes, because this bunker cannot get up, I think. But the Stalker is out already. Stalker's Chrono Boost makes units so fast, and now the bunker is gonna finish.
Well, it might actually, because he brought more SCVs, and the mass repair can still happen, but 3 shield batteries.
We're pulling all the probes!
Target down the pylon, right? Like, he's going to try and just do whatever he can, honestly. The Marines in the bunker doing a lot of damage, even with the shield batteries helping out, but the SCVs only repairing for so long. That one actually being quite lazy and not repairing. Bunker goes down, and just a handful of Marines left over to a Protoss with high ground, Stalker production, and 3 shield batteries.
Yeah, no, the 3 shield batteries are really doing all the works here. You cannot underestimate this, and they didn't. Now all the Marines are dead. And even though it's like 13 walkers to 9 ECVs, there's not even an orbital command. So this is like really, really terrible for uThermal.
Mm-hmm. Not really a hope for even any defense if he were to go back home, too.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, if he loses both Stalker for free because of a flank, he can just always run away.
Yeah, just by that time, you can run away from Marines, absolutely. And as long as you can come back later, you still have a lot more units, or a lot more powerful units, I should say, than uThermal, who is, I mean, he knows he's all in. There's no getting away from this. You just keep producing Marines and hope that they slip up on their micro, you know, have everything in one control group and go up back to the ramp. It really shouldn't be. It's not happening here, not Trap.
Yeah, like, that's exactly what you said. You're making Marines and you're praying. Marines and praying is often the name of the game as a Terran. But Trap, look, even microing that one Stalkers, we can always just go back to the 3 shield batteries. Warp gate is down, so it's gonna be 5 Stalker total. It's gonna be more Stalker than Marines, no big grab. This is not where you wanna be.
Yeah, that's a bad news. Stalkers are already so effective, even against like double the amount of unstimmed Marines, but now we're talking about more Stalkers and Marines. It's bad stuff. Trap is going to start the progression here as uThermal does lift his barracks to go home. He's not willing to give up this game yet. This makes a lot of sense. This is the last game. I know we're kind of harping on him for the game 3, but this one, it is your last game. Now, it is the last game, but it's definitely it's definitely a lost game. So
Trap is even expecting the Marine run by. So like even if it's one Stalker with 3 shield battery, it's gonna be more than fine. Mm-hmm. You have the 4 Marines slowly getting in, then you have the 5 Stalkers run by. They will kill everything.
Stalkers run by. There we go. Trap with the 3-2 takes the victory and moves on in the winners bracket. So uThermal, I mean, he really surprised everyone with his run through the winners bracket, being Zest, Lambo, and Clem. Not quite able to take out Trap, but he did a damn good job bringing us to game 5.
Yeah, that was a pretty good preparation. A lot of very aggressive strats. Trap was ready for them. I can't help, Insight is 2020, really hard in this situation, but I can't help but feel like, what if uThermal didn't go for 2 racks, but maybe for some other stuff in this series? Maybe he could have won, It was really, really close, and I really enjoy this series. I feel like there's a lot of interesting stuff to learn from Bevs.
Mm-hmm. Especially for the Protoss players out there dealing with cheesy Terrans every day, man.
Especially for the Protoss players.
Yeah. I guess for us Terrans, we take the build, and then we also make Marines and pray. So that's what you say our Terrans have to do. So that's the best we can make out of this one. But uThermal will drop down to the lower bracket. He still has that second shot. I'm sure many people are cheering for him. Trap proves his dominance in this matchup, yet still. Thank you so much, Drogo, for joining us.
We stand as one. Are you gonna give me orders?